Hey guys, it's Box. Thanks for tuning into MST.TV. Now, this is the Rokket Dragon Link deck profile. I'll get into that in a bit, but I just want to address that, yes, this is Rokket Dragon Link rather than just Dragon Link because I did incorporate a larger Rokket package. It does have its own utility as well. I'm going to highlight it in one of the combos where you just basically win, especially against any other combo deck which relies on one card in the extra deck. And if they only rely on that one card, you basically win because you can just trigger off Silver Rokket right away and the game is basically over. So that's something that we're going to highlight. Second thing is, how do you deal with Mystic Mine? Does Mystic Mine automatically kill the deck? You would have noticed that a lot of online replays with a deck, like, none of them showcase how to deal with Mystic Mine because it seems like it's a natural weakness. But if you actually play the Rokket package and you set up the Rokket combo instead, you might not lose. In fact, you can deal with 2 Mystic Mines, and I'll showcase that part as well. So don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and let's get into the profile, and then we'll jump into combos with you guys. Alright, to kick things off, we have double Rokket Tracer. Why 2 Rokket Tracer? Why not play a third one? Most of the Rokket monsters, they are normal summon based. Like, sure, Rokket Tracer can bring out another monster, and you have Quick Launch, but Quick Launch is your main source of special summoning from your Rokket package. So that's why I don't want to max out on this. And also, Rokket Tracer isn't exactly a piece you want to begin with, it's the piece you end with. So, and you can usually fetch it out later on in the combo anyway, so that's not something that you want to worry too much about. So yeah, double Rokket Tracer. Next, we have double Absorouter Dragon, just free search of your Rokket monster and a free summon as well, which can help you extend your combo. It's really nice to actually see this in your hand early on because you just know you have an additional body to play with. Now, in terms of the Rokket monsters themselves, 1 Silver Rokket, and you want to trigger this thing off, especially if you know that your matchup is a combo matchup. They're going to try and stop you, but if they're playing Crusadia Guard Dragon, you can rip out their Magius, or you can take out their LP. Once you take out the LP, they're not that scary, and that means they can't really get out the Brotor anymore, and that is a big limitation on their side. So if you can hit them with this, please do so, and I'm going to show you a combo how to do it. And we have like double Magna Rokket because you can... Mainly it's because it's level 4, so you can use Rokket Tracer to go into Warlord Savage, but this is also an 18 beat stick. 1 copy of Auto Rokket. You play this because you want to send spells and traps to the graveyard. It's also one of the ways you can deal with Mystic Mine. That's why I play this. And 1 Rokket Synchron. This is your level 1 tuner that you can fetch out with Quick Launch, and all these monsters basically can be special summoned out with Quick Launch with the exception of Absorouter. So that is the Rokket package. I have like what? Well, 9 monsters? Okay, so into the typical Dinosaur package right now, which is Triple Soul Eating Oviraptor, because you can use it to dump Carbonetin into the graveyard. I also play 1 copy of Miscellaneousaurus. We of course have Carbonetin, and we have World Chalice Guard Dragon for the IB combo. And with Carbonetin, we also of course have Flambeau Guard. So this would be the Synchro package, and Miscellaneous is just really nice to extend with because of Miscellaneous we also run 1 Jirac-Yolo, which gives us the additional tuner. So this helps us extend if you have multiple copies of Fossil Dig. If you have multiple copies, usually it feels really dead if you have nothing else to use it with, and once you use your Oviraptor and you do your Synchro play, it feels like it's kind of dead. So Miscellaneous adds a little bit of extra oomph, and if you actually get out YOLO onto the board while having the IB on the field, the Justisar, you can use that as your linking material, and you can actually keep the Guard Dragon out without basically playing anything. And now as for our dragons, of course we need our main dragon here. I feel like this is gonna get banned. I'm sorry, this card is really busted. It's probably gonna get banned probably next format, and it just gives you like 2 bodies of dragons every single time. We have Tempest as well. We have Destrudo. I'm playing 1 copy of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme because it's just an additional hand trap, and like I said, this deck can run hand traps. It's also a dragon, so that if you use a Hieratic Seal and you want to create some anti-targeting capability, this is what you use it for. But if you play against Sky Strike, it feels really good too. And as for hand traps, my last 2 hand traps would be Ash Blossom Joyous Spring. It's Ash, what do you want me to say? Okay, into the spell lineup, let's just get the quick stuff out of the way, starting with Quick Launch. So this is free summon. Also, note, this card is not once per turn, so you can have multiple copies and you can still do your Synchro play, you can set up everything. Yeah, not once per turn. Keep that in mind. A lot of people are like, oh, you already used it. Yeah, I did. So what? Triple Fossil Dig because you want to be able to fetch out your Soul Eating Oviraptor very quickly. Triple Cobble of the Grave because you don't want to get hand trapped, but luckily even if you do get hand trapped, certain hand traps you can eat, certain hand traps you have to call by the grave. All right, And Call by the Grave is just really nice to set also. That's why it's mained in 3s. Okay, as for our World Legacy package, these are just basically Monster Reborns for dragons, but they're searchable. So if you're already open with one, you can add the World Legacy Succession instead, which gives you an alternate play, additional extension. They just don't expect it. When you add this, they're like, oh, what's going on? But technically, it's a big read that you already have a World Legacy Guard Dragon. And my personal spice in the deck, that's main deck Super Poly. I don't see a reason why not. If you're playing against any sort of dark deck, like an Orcus deck, any deck that plays Danger, any deck that plays the Crusadia Guard Dragon package, even like Endymion, they all use basically 2 Dark Dragons. They use Triple Burst and they use an LP. And with that, you can just Super Poly it off and they lose all their zones and you get yourself one of 2 monsters. I'm actually running 2 targets in the main because I can, but it does come with a bit of a sacrifice to the Nightmare package. But play Super Poly, you can kill your opponent, they don't even expect it, and your whole deck is the material if you're going to use it for extension for damage, which is not something that your opponent can really deal with. Then for the last little bit, we have our Gravesenders, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Dragon Shrine, and 1 Dragon Ravine. This is searchable through our big boy of Romulus. So that is the main deck. Alright, so feel free to critique my build. I get that it's not for everyone, and you guys, if you have any sort of suggestion, leave it down in the comment section. I'd love to read it enough to improve my build for what I see as Portland. Am I really playing this deck, or am I playing that Mystic Mind deck? Who knows? Alright, you guys can figure it out yourself. Now, looking into the beginning, the middle, and the end. I actually kind of like this sequence because this is the card you always want to open with. This is the card that you finish halfway through with Agripane, and this is the one that you finish off with Rocket Tracer. That's exactly the sequence that usually should happen. Why play Darks? Why not play Crystal Wing? If you have to go into Rocket Tracer to get into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, then you can't summon out Crystal Wing because you're stuck in Darks. That being said, this is your activation negation, which stops Mystic Mind, which is very nice. I am still very scared of Super Poly myself because these 2 are dark, and these 2 are always on the board in these finishing plays. So Super Poly, very, very good side deck, and I definitely recommend playing it because I'm even main decking it to some degree, and that's just how it is. Second thing to note is that Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss has a damage effect. If you deal damage with it, you summon out a tuner, which is very relevant for Rocket Tracer. You can deal additional damage. You can push for more damage like that you couldn't see before. Anyways, moving these guys aside, we have our fusions, Borderlord Furious Dragon, and Starving Venom. Borderlord Furious is more for like you set a Super Poly and then you Super Poly your opponent's Guard Dragon play. That's the more typical way of doing it. Or if your opponent sets up, you're playing a mirror match and they set up both of these guys and you Super Poly into this. It's very painful for your opponent, especially even when they have the Heavenly Spheres. It just doesn't really matter to them because if you use Borderlord Furious Dragon and they're like, now they're playing the waiting game, because if you activate this card effect as a quick effect to target 1 monster you control, which usually could mean itself, and 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them. So it doesn't even matter if you destroy your own card or not. Even if they bounces back, you still get to pop one of their cards, which makes it very annoying for the Hermetic Seal of Heavenly Spheres because that card doesn't target, so therefore it has to bounce. So you actually might cause them to bounce their own card. If you pop your own card and you have nothing left, they kind of trip over their own combo, which sucks for them. This is only for breaking boards if they have like a Thunder and say a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. Some people might prefer to play Crystal Wing because then you won't have the Dark attribute, which makes a lot of sense, but you can also use this card against like Orcus builds, stuff like that. Alright, now into the actual links. Our generic link 2, we have Cypher Lord Lambda. Just because it's light, it's big, it's bigger than the other guys. You can play the dark if you want, it just needs to be generic, really. I recommend playing one with an effect, though. I wouldn't recommend, like, Lanforlincus or Lanfornicus, just because that particular card has no effects. You can't really go into a Boral Sword. So sometimes you just want to kill your opponent, you can't with that card. And the Guard Dragon package, Pisty, Agripane, and LP. Self-explanatory. Dragons. Romulus to search out Dragon Ravine. Triple Burst to give you a down arrow. Sometimes you can even use the side arrow because we are using World Legacy Guard Dragon that does let you move your cards around, and I'm going to highlight that. And of course we have Heavenly Spheres. Just be careful because this is the only one that's actually dark, and if you use Rocket Tracer you can't summon out 2 of these guys. As for our final bosses, we have Appaloosa for multi-negation. We have Saryuja And we finally finish off with our Borrelord. No Borrelord in this particular deck. I think it's fine without Borrelord, but if you want to play Borrelord, then you can cut one of the fusions, alright? That's my suggestion if you really want to go that route. If you want to cut the fusions entirely, go ahead and add back Nightmare Phoenix because you want to deal with Floodgates. Floodgates are a big problem in this deck, especially if you go second, but if you're going to be going second, you might as well just slide into Twin Twisters at that point. So there's that. Alright, so that is the extra deck. Let's go into some combo goodness. Okay, combo time. So depending on if you have like 2 extenders or 3 extenders, the combo can drastically change depending on the objective you're trying to achieve. We're going to look at the basic combo first, and we're going to look at the end board and how weak it is so that you can break it. And then I'm going to get you guys to kind of flex it around so that you can just change it up so that it is much stronger. And that depends on how many extenders you have. It's really easy to get extenders in this deck because basically any of the spells can give you an additional monster. And we're going to start with the basic combo that everyone should know, and then we'll change it. So starting with the Soul Eating Oviraptor with Oviraptor, we're going to go ahead and dump the Carbon Neddin, and we're going to go ahead and banish it to summon out the Flamvel Guard. This part should be pretty self-explanatory. We're going to synchro into the 5. This is going to activate, and we're going to add ourselves the World Legacy Guard Dragon. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and activate World Legacy Guard Dragon. Keep in mind that in this play, we already have the Rokket Tracer. The play changes a little bit. We'll just talk about the end board, how it changes if you did not have it. So we're going to go ahead and activate this, and we're going to summon it out. By it, I mean Flamvel Guard. We're going to go ahead and link it off, and we're going to have to summon out Psyframe Lord Lambda. With that in mind, Ib's Grave Trigger will now activate, summoning out World Chalice Guard Dragon. With World Chalice Guard Dragon, we're going to send that to the graveyard by linking it into LP. So Guard Dragon into Guard Dragon. We're going to banish World Chalice Guard Dragon to summon out a normal monster this time into a pointed zone. So we're going to summon out the Flamvel Guard. And in any case, if this gets stopped, you can use World Legacy Guard Dragon to move it over to get that summon instead. But that's just an option you have if your Flamvel Guard does get stopped. Now we get the Flamvel Guard. We're going to link that one off into our Guard Dragon Pisty. So do you guys still follow me here? This is the part that you should all know how to do because this is just all part of the Ib combo. And we're going to jump back into this particular spot later on when we revisit the other variations of the combo. Now, LP effect. LP effect, we're going to go ahead and summon out Red Eyes Darkness Metal. It's just a given. This is the best monster you can ever summon out. Aside from Brotor, if you're trying to rip your opponent's hand apart. And with this in mind, we're going to go ahead and use Red Eyes Darkness Metal's effect to summon out Flamvel Guard. And with 4 monsters, we're going to go ahead and go into Saryuja. So this is the Saryuja play. So you haven't used Pisty yet, and making sure that you summon out the Saryuja in an area where Pisty still points to. So that gives you the Pisty summon. Now this is a 4 material summon, so we're going to go ahead and just add one card that's kind of useless. We're going to say this is the card that we got so that I don't have to change my combo too much because Saryuja adds variance to the combo and it gives you an additional extender, and it really changes it up. If you have like 2 additional extenders, you can go for a really nasty board, but that's not what we're trying to showcase. That's going to be up to you to figure out. But for now, we're going to do some standard stuff. Okay, so we still have Pisty. Pisty can go ahead and revive our Red Eyes Darkness Metal. And with that in mind, we can go ahead and special summon back our Flamvel Guard. Remember, we cannot special summon out the LP because this is summoned out only once per turn. So there's that limitation on the summoning condition. And we're going to use Saryuja's effect. Don't forget to use it. Special summon out Rokket Tracer. I think you probably want to do the Rokket Tracer effect first before you do the Pisty one. The summon of Saryuja before you go into anything too crazy. Just because if they blow this up, it does hurt. But regardless, moving on, we have our board now. We can go ahead and take our Red Eyes Darkness Metal and our Flamvel Guard for the double dragon summon, which would be Agripane. Agripane effect, we're going to use Agripane to summon out, of course, our Hot Red Dragon Abyss because we have 1 arrow from here and 1 arrow from the Pisty. And with that in mind, we got ourselves our second Dragon Link because we're locked into dragons, of course. We got our Dragunity Knight Romulus. Can it be anything else? No, because we're going to use the effect to go ahead and fetch ourselves a Dragon Ravine. And with the Dragon Ravine, we're going to be able to put anything into the graveyard that we really need. So we're going to go ahead and activate the Dragon Ravine. This is the fact, say we got a useless card, we throw that into the graveyard, or it's usually something useful that you can reuse, like a Destrudo. You can also throw in a Absol Router Dragon in there so you can add another card back to your hand. That's just an option that you can try for. Now with that in mind, we're gonna go ahead and throw Tempest into the graveyard, because why is this card unbanned? Well, we get to find out now. And with Tempest, we get to banish 2 cards. Leave the Pisty in the graveyard. Pisty can revive stuff from the banish, so we're gonna go ahead and hit the Agripane, and we're also gonna hit up that LP. So we don't need either of these, so we can summon out that Tempest. And with Tempest summoned out, we have 1, 2, 3 materials, so we can make a link 4. And with the link 4, we're gonna go into Appaloosa. So Appaloosa has a total of 3 monster negations. And remember that she doesn't destroy it, so there's that also, but she does lose attack, and one of the worst things to happen to her would be getting her impermanence, so she goes to 0. Impermanence immediately turns off all her negations, which is why impermanence is such a powerful card. Now that we're down to this part of the combo where we still have 3 cards in our hand, we're going to use Rokket Tracer to pop off one of our own cards. Preferably keeping the Dragon Ravine, because if the Dragon Ravine has additional value later on and later turns, where you can throw Destrudo into the graveyard and keep your extension going. We're going to pop the World Legacy Guard Dragon, pop it to summon out a level 4 rocket monster. I prefer to go into Magna Rokket because the other Rocket's bigger, and this one I run multiple copies of anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and Synchro Summoned into Dark only. Remember, you locked into Darks with that, so you go ahead and summon out your Borreload Savage Dragon. With Borreload Savage, you're going to equip it with a Saryuja to maximize the damage. So you gain about half the attack, putting it to 44 with 4 counters, so you can negate a total of 4 times of this over a duration of 4 different turns. This one has a generic negation, this one's generic negation, monster negation, but if you want to stop Mystic Mind, this is your best way. Here's the weakness of the board. You have 2 dark monsters on the board, and if this gets some super polyed, and then this one gets impermanence, you're pretty screwed. But luckily, both can't happen at the same time, because you'll always be able to negate one. And the impermanence won't be able to go down unless they impermanence you first, but if they try to impermanence, you can definitely attempt to negate it first, so you at least get some level of value back. But once Super Poly comes down, these 2 are going to be gone, and that's going to hurt a lot. So, but this board is still not too bad. You got 1, 2, 3 negates coming from Appaloosa for monster effects. You got generic everything, and you got something face up on the field negation. So it's still pretty solid, and you basically threaten lethal while this is up. But then again, this is like a 2 monster board. You have a Rokket, plus you have the Synchro 5. But let's rewind, let's try out a different play. Okay, for this opening play, it's a little bit weirder. Now, instead of having just 2 cards, we have 1 additional extender available. It could be a Destrudo, it could be another Quick Launch. It just needs to be something you can summon. So in this particular case, it's a 3 extension combo. And we're going to go with the LP, go ahead and summon out the Red Ice Darkness Metal. With Darkness Metal, we're going to summon out Rokket Tracer. Keep in mind of your zoning if you want to maximize the spacing that you have available. We're going to summon out Rokket Tracer, and then use your Destrudo, use your additional summon, whatever, just summon out onto this side. And the first monster we're going to go into is actually one of our favorite boss monsters of all time. We're going to go into a Borreload Dragon. Wow. This combo is so weird, what a waste. And with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and use Pisty's effect. We're going to summon out Red Ice Darkness Metal once again, and we're going to use the effect of Red Ice Darkness Metal. We're going to summon out Abzoroter. And here, because we've basically used all their effects, we're going to link these 2 out. And we're going to summon out Romulus. Romulus's effect, we're going to add basically the same stuff, Dragon Ravine. We got to keep in mind of our tuner here because we still want to use it. And with that in mind, with Romulus, we're going to use the effect of World Legacy Guard Dragon. We're going to move the Borreload Dragon over here, so we got a double pointer here. And with the double pointer, we're going to link these 2 off. And we're going to push out an Agripane. Agripane's effect, we have the arrows, we've got the technology. We're going to summon out the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. We're going to activate the Dragon Ravine. We're going to toss a card into the graveyard. I guess it doesn't really matter what you toss. And then we're going to put the Tempest into the grave. With Tempest in grave, we basically fully set up now. So with the full setup here, we're going to go ahead and link these 2 off. into our Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. We're going to banish the Romulus and the Agripane, summon out the Tempest. And with that in mind, this is a pretty devastating combo against your opponent because this Boral Sword actually acts as an additional disruption. Now you have a choice. You had a choice when you got into this play. You can either choose to pop this one off first and then go ahead and rip your opponent's extra deck apart, or you can do something else, which is you can go ahead and use this effect of Rokket Tracer to pop the World Legacy Guard Dragon to summon out. The card that we're summoning out is the Synchron. Rokket Synchron being level 1. Go ahead and synchro these two off. And we got ourselves a Borreload Savage. Borreload Savage. Fortunately, we don't have the biggest monster, so we can still get ourselves 2 negates. But regardless, in the context of how many things you're doing here, it's quite a bit. Now, this turn isn't exactly over. You actually want to interact with your opponent during their turn right at the beginning. So if you want to interrupt them, especially if you know they're playing Sky Striker, you know that they're playing Guard Dragon, you know that they're playing anything along those lines, you would activate the Rokket Tracer right away. You would pop your own Rokket Tracer, and you would summon out. Where are you? Silver Rokket. And then, in response to the summon of Silver Rokket, you would activate Boral Sword, target the Silver Rokket chain to the targeting of Silver Rokket, and it will destroy itself. And then you can look at your opponent's extra deck and you rip a card apart. Now during the end phase, of course, Silver Rokket will activate and give you back one of your cards. Now in terms of disruption right now, you have 1, 2, and 3. But you ripped apart their extra deck, which can make it a bit easier to play against them because if they're relying on an LP or they're relying on a Kagari, like if you take away their Kagari, the Hayates lose value on the very first turn, so they don't even get to properly send, say, an engage into the graveyard. It's pretty interesting when you do that. However, you better know your matchup before you do this particular play. Otherwise, it's fair game. You can do whatever you want. If you're lucky enough and get an additional extender, if you're able to like use a quick launch instead, you're able to actually put out like 2 monsters like this so that you basically have full negation. You would have popped off against your opponent already, and this would be the nastier board that you can do. But in the case where you did not actually have the additional monster, you would either sacrifice not having the Borreload Savage, which I don't recommend, or you would not have the Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. You have to make a choice on this one, but either way you're still able to pop off against your opponent regardless. And if you want to go even further, you could actually have neither, but then you would have went off with the Boral Sword first by taking out one of their cards, and then you would summon out, say, a Magna Rokket so that you can send another monster to the graveyard during their turn. But this is all really just matchup dependent, alright guys? Just keep that in mind. But you guys might have noticed that the previous combo does not deal with Super Poly, because Super Poly can still rip your board apart, so you gotta find some way to dodge that. And to dodge it properly, you're gonna have to get rid of Super Poly issues like now before it becomes an issue. Most people side in Super Poly as going second anyway, so what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna need to get rid of it before it's their turn. So to do so, you're gonna go ahead and use Rokket Tracer, and this is all before you go into the Borreload Savage. In fact, you're probably not gonna be able to go into Borreload Savage unless you are really lucky, because you need an additional extender to do so. If you have like another copy of, say, Quick Launch, then you're able to do it. But if not, you're kind of stuck. And Tempest is not as useful in this particular case. So you're gonna go ahead and use Rokket Tracer, pop this one, summon out the Silver Rokket now, go ahead and use Boral Sword, target Silver Rokket chain, destroy it, and get rid of the Super Poly target now. End phase, you're going to go ahead and summon out something pretty useful. So if you're gonna be dealing with a Mystic Mine based play, then go ahead and summon out the Auto Rokket so that when your opponent activates an Auto Rokket, you can use Boral Sword to target the Auto Rokket. And since Boral Sword's targeting effect is not respondable, it's pretty safe from most effects. And then you can chain the Auto Rokket to pop it off. And it's pretty hard to negate this particular card simply because it doesn't search from the deck, so there's like a lot of hand traps that don't really work against it, and during your opponent's turn, effect failures won't work either, so there's that going for you. And if there's any more problems, then you're on your own. But luckily, if you do pop off with the effect of Boral Sword to trigger this effect, during the end phase you will be able to get yourself another search. And if you want to give yourself a little bit more variety in terms of what Boral Sword can send to the graveyard, you can go ahead and just get rid of your own Rokket Tracer and summon out Magna Rokket, so you can send both monsters or you can send spells and traps, choosing your own options right here. You know, fight your battles accordingly. And that is kind of my rundown of this particular combo, which is why I think it's quite versatile what you can do with this deck, because you can do like the whole Saryuja shebang, or you can just go ahead and just load the board up with Disruption and preemptively disrupt your opponent before they even get their turn, which is rather nice. I think that usually wins the most games anyways. Normal summon. Effect. We're going to send into the graveyard. Carbon. Carbonated. Effect. Gonna go ahead and summon out Humble Guard. And from here, we're gonna go ahead and summon Ib effect. Add World Legacy Guard Dragon. And rather than doing the World Legacy add, we're just gonna go ahead and launch the Rokket this time. Just so we have the card. Go ahead, link them off, and we're gonna go into Lambda effect. Of course, no effect on Lambda, but Ib effect. We're going to summon out our World Chalice Guard Dragon. Man, I'm just not seeing it. There it is. And from here, we gotta go ahead and just start making plays. This one here, we can go ahead and activate this. Summon up Humble Guard. We haven't even used our World Legacy Guard Dragon, which is why this play is pretty insane. We're trying to put a Palooza and everything else on the board. Now we go ahead and use LP. LP, we're going to summon out Red Eyes Darkness Metal. Darkness Metal, we're going to use the effect of Darkness Metal. We're going to summon back our... Honestly, it doesn't matter because we're just going to link it off. This is going to go into Saryuja. This is going to give us one additional card, so I'm just actually going to see what we get. See if we can extend. This will get you there for sure. We'll see if we can actually do it with... We'll just keep it in our hand just in case we need it to get there. Effect of Pisty. Meadow. And effect summon. Go ahead and just convert. Oh, before you convert at this point, summon out this. Get rid of the Cypher or Lambda. Now you can take these two to get into the Agripane, which will activate this and fetch you another extender, which is your Light Dragon. Now we can go ahead and summon out Hot Red. So we have a lot of extension. We have 3 extenders in our hand, and we gotta maximize here. So we want to get more cards for sure. So we're gonna go ahead and go into the Romulus. Romulus is gonna give us the field spell. Activate the field spell. Really, there's no real point in using this stuff, but whatever works. We're going to use, well, I guess we're just gonna discard the Succession. And we're gonna toss into the grave. Tempest. So we have a Tempest play coming up. And at this point, I want to set it up so that I can actually get an Appaloosa on the board at the same time as I have basically all my negations. So I should be able to, I should have enough material to do so. And starting off, I probably should just, I have to keep this card. So I'm going to summon out my White Dragon by banishing a Dark. We're going to take these two. summon out the Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. So you just ignore this little pile of cards there. We're gonna get the Heavenly Spheres right here. And now we're gonna play our World Legacy Guard Dragon. And we're gonna summon back, say, a Flamboyant Guard. We're gonna summon out our Tempest as well by banishing 2 dragons. I guess the white and black dragons are the only dragons that really can't be reused. And we're gonna take these guys, we're gonna go ahead and link them all off into Appaloosa. They all have different names, of course. And now we're gonna go use our Rokket Tracer, pop this card, summon out our Silver Rocket, go ahead and synchro with these two, summon into Borreload's Savage. Borreload's Savage effect, add the Saryuja. This is my pretty gross, but as long as you have the extenders to do so play, this is the play that you should probably aim for every time you get there, because you have 3 monster negations, 2 generic negations, 1 bouncing disruption, and 1 additional summon that comes out of this, which was likely going to summon into another Rokket Tracer, and that Rokket Tracer will just let you extend into another board. So that's the kind of play that this can push. And don't forget, Tempest is already in the graveyard. You still have cards to play. You can still go into a Borreload Dragon. You still have Triple Burst. This is the play that I kind of wanted to demonstrate to you guys, where if you have triple extender, this is the board that you should. It's pretty gross. And that is all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, hit that subscribe button. I have the rundown, my summary of Worlds 2019 coming up. Everything you want to know, like how did I get there, like what did it take to get invited, all that stuff, and basically the rundown of the entire schedule that you did not get to see behind the scenes. That's going to be coming up next week, and there's so much footage to edit for that one, so I'm going to run that down. So make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for that, and there's probably a lot of fun information that you guys probably weren't aware of. And check out my cool hat, and I'll see you guys in the next one.